Joey, before you leave. So English grammar wasn't tough. I got no pen. I know that's not even correct. I got no pen. Just throw it. Thank you. Not very well. For Terry.
I was thinking about Stan wants to build this motel. Yeah, you've got drug paraphernalia. Visual view for little kids to look at. And he wants to build a motel that kind of.
Where's Wendy? Good for her.
We get an agenda?
What's wrong with Ray?
Oh, here it is.
Why is Claire in the hospital?
I don't know, must be. Well, she's here for that.
say your prayers. Oh, thank you. Shut up, I'll kick your ass. Oh, sorry. I know. I'm a freshie, it's true.
Adams says river water's still making 90%. You think with all this rain, first was.
Joe, could you sign a little smaller? You're wiping out my name here.
I'm a free agent, I'll sign the way I
I know, you signed it so big, and I'm like, I better sign below.
Or let's say this.
I just, yeah, I would think. Obviously, I don't know either. I like sometimes it's got people overshadow.
Oh,
So it's looking for an anniversary. River water,
Oh, the guy from the phone company, they're gonna have somebody here from the Blink.
how did I miss these?
I can't mow my lawn or something.
You mow your own lawn?
Well, my son can't mow my lawn. That's what he says, anyway.
What's going on with your lawn?
We must have the most bills in Central Hudson ever. I signed more Central Hudson bills.
Andrew.
Holy mackerel, do you
All
think we
right,
could cut it back?
Yeah. So,
Okay, everybody. Welcome to the July workshop. I'd just like to start off with a Pledge of Allegiance. Mike, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Mike, it's the August workshop.
Thanks, Joe.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you all please stand? Have a moment of silence for Linda Akamudi, please. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Judge Aaliyah, would you read the proclamation for us?
Yes. Thank you for this honor. Linda Marie Akamudi Memorial Resolution. Whereas Linda Marie Akamudi, a longtime resident of the town of Lloyd, was taken from our midst on July 28, 2021. And whereas Linda was born in New Jersey and raised in Marlborough, and whereas Linda married her love, Leonard Akamudi, on Valentine's Day, and together they created a beautiful, loving family for their two sons, Ricky and Willie. And whereas Linda worked at the Highland School District, which allowed her to keep a close eye on her precious sons and all their friends. And whereas Linda worked for H.O. Penn Machinery in Poughkeepsie, where she made lasting friendships that she cherished. Whereas Linda, affectionately known as Aunt Linda, Mama Linda, or simply Ma, was a true matriarch of her own family and a willing honorary matriarch to all those who would have her, forever expanding her brood. And whereas Linda always had room around her table, no one left her house hungry, nor did she ever arrive at a friend's home empty-handed. And whereas Linda Marie Akamudi will be deeply missed by her loving husband, Lenny, our devoted councilman, her precious sons, Ricky and Willie, daughter-in-law, Rebecca, grandchildren, sister, and brother, nieces and nephews, and dear devoted friend, Barbara, as well as her community and friends. Now therefore be it resolved that this August 4th, 2021 meeting of the Town of Lloyd Town Board be opened in the memory of Linda Marie Akamudi with the deepest sympathy of this town board of the Town of Lloyd.
Judge, thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry.
In the expedience of time, I'm just going to jump forward. We're going to have a presentation by Blink Communications. The floor is yours.
This is Alex Ives from Blink Communications. I sent you his presentation, this Thursday or Friday. We're looking into a new phone service to replace Magnify because I've just been getting a lot of complaints. So, we reached out and we spoke, and I just wanted him to come here and give you the presentation. The police department is already on board because they've been nickel and dimed to death from one of their servers, their services from Manchester Communications, and this would alleviate multiple vendors for this service.
Just a quick question before you start, and thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Is the court system going to also be taken over by this system? Perfect.
But he'll explain, we're extremely impressed because we would be able to transfer to any building, not just right now within this site.
Annoying things is you call the building, and then you have to go through this whole long message about if you didn't call the right place for it. It shouldn't be that way. It should just be able to hit the extension. So thanks.
Absolutely.
Yours, Alex.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody.
And he came from Long Island, so.
Oh, wow.
And I'm also sorry to hear about your loss. It's,
Thank you.
so yeah, Margaret and I had started on this project back in April, I believe, and really what we were looking to do was not only take over for Magnify and replacing all the services, but really be able to build something out that can kind of unify the communications across the whole town. So the court being involved, everything at this building. Actually, I have it right here. The assessor's office, building and planning, the historian, justice court, supervisor's office, town clerk, highway department, police department, water treatment plant as well as the water maintenance plant would all be included. At this time, the transfer station wouldn't be, but we would have an option to integrate it as well. It does rely on an internet connection, so we looked at all the sites that have internet, and then from there we can kind of look to light everything up. So just kind of give you some background, because the first thing we did was really perform an audit on all the services that you're currently paying for with Magnify. So we take a deep look into what you're paying for, why you're paying for it, and Magnify's business model is they operate as something called a CLEC. It's a competitive local exchange carrier. Essentially what they do is they resell services from the incumbent carriers in the area. So in this area, it's mainly Optimum, the local cable provider, as well as Verizon. They're the incumbent carrier for all the copper lines. So as opposed to having all the services bundled and then resold to you, what my company does is we look to actually bring you direct to the provider for all those services. So all ancillary services as far as internet goes, any kind of analog lines for fire alarms, fax machines, things like that. Excuse me. And then everything on the voice side we take over. So that would include, all the actual office equipment. So the handsets themselves, we accounted for a total of 45 between all locations, as well as all the voice lines. That all comes to us at Blink. Now, what's nice is, as opposed to having to go to each provider, you would actually be able to call on Blink moving forward. So we included a full maintenance and managed services package. That means if anything happens, anything needing remote support, on-site support, we'll dispatch a technician. It's all included. And if you have any kind of billing issue with Verizon, right, or an outage with Optimum, whatever it may be, we're direct channel partners with those companies. We have our own contacts within them. So we would really look to manage everything for you. So bringing you directly to the provider for a better rate overall. And you can obviously always reach out to them, but we would look to kind of manage everything for you moving forward. If you want, I can kind of touch on these points. How much time do we have?
Can I just ask a quick question? I'm sorry. It's why we wait to the end. So I work for a place that used to use a place called Black Box. And the problem with Black Box is they also were on Long Island. And they had one technician that would have to come. We would wait days and weeks to get the parts. Your technicians, where are they located?
So all of our in-house technicians are on Long Island. We also work with Teleshield. So what that does is it gives us technicians all over the country. It makes it so that if we do have to do an in-house call, we just dispatch one of them. Mainly in this area, we have a good presence. So we've built up good relationships with local techs.
So how long would it take let's say one of the handheld receivers are having an issue and it wasn't something online, how long would it take to get a tech here?
Good question. Normally between 1 and 2 business days. Now, what the main difference is right now the phone systems are all hosted on premise, meaning there's a PBX server box somewhere in the back right now that's routing all the phone calls. What this solution will do is actually upload everything into the cloud. And with that, we're able to access the system remotely. So the system itself, as opposed to being hosted here, it's hosted in the cloud, right? And everyone hears this cloud term these days. What that means is we have data facilities with Amazon. So they would actually host the town's phone system in 2 locations. As long as we have an internet connection, we can access the system remotely. If a handset is defective, it's covered for 5 years. And if it's simply a defective handset, we box it up, next day it out, and the phones are plug and play. We program everything in-house.
Right. Yeah, my concern is that it's 2-day turnaround, and we don't have. We just switched over to the internet phone. We had a lot of issues with the phones and the internet, and we have 5 in-house tech people that are constantly working. We don't have that luxury here. We have a company that we outsource to, and I don't know what their turnaround. So, that have to have them involved, and you guys have turned 2 days. To me, that's.
Their turnaround to get someone to us as well can be 1 to 3 days, 1 to 4 days. They only have 1 rep in the area.
And I completely get it. The biggest thing is communications have to always work, regardless of what business I deal with. And I'll work with a diner or a hedge fund or a government contractor or a municipal town. 99% of the issues today are all handled up in the cloud. It's very rare that a technician has to come out. Likewise, a lot of the times what we'll do is actually look to develop a relationship with whichever IT vendor kind of manages things, in which we would actually be able to compensate them to do any kind of work that's needed on site. But from a physical hardware standpoint, because it's all cloud-based, a new phone is simply reprogrammed and then next date out to you. The only things that would happen on-premise would be wiring issues, things existing like in the current infrastructure, which is usually very rare. Normally cabling in a building will last 20 years plus. So for the most part, we would be able to service everything for you. It's very rare that someone actually has to come out. Sure.
Continue. Go ahead, continue with the presentation.
No problem. If we can just skip down, I think there's 2 more slides after this. We can show the phone real quick. So this is the model phone we would look to put on everyone's desk. It's very simple. The phones today are much more user intuitive, kind of like our cell phones. So as you can see, everything is actually pre-programmed on the screen. All the paper inserts go away on the phones. So everyone's name would actually be listed in that directory. We also included a few expansion modules. Have you ever seen the side cards that go with the phones right there? And on there, we can list all 50 contacts. So from that one screen, you'd be able to see if someone's on the phone in any of the locations. And yeah, they light up differently. This is kind of the breakdown. So this on top, I don't know if everyone can see, if we can zoom in a little. So on top is the current monthly cost and services that you're rendering from Magna 5. Like I said, these are really coming from Optimum and Verizon. No problem. So right here, 30 metered voice lines. Metered meaning local and long distance calling is not included. That's why a lot of times the current expenditure, the invoice we did receive was $1817.24. They fluctuate quite a bit. Moving forward, we've included unlimited local and long distance, so you can account for the same thing every month. So as opposed to have everything resold through Magna 5, it would come from 3 total providers moving forward. Verizon taking over all analog lines. Those are your fax machines, fire alarms, as well as any other kind of independent voice lines that are just sitting there. On the Optimum side, we saw that there were 4 internet circuits being resold right now. Those are 15/2 legacy Optimum internets. 15 being the megabit download speed, 2 being the upload speed. It's a legacy speed, so it's quite old. So we would be replacing those circuits with a 300/10. So it would be roughly about, give or take, 10 times faster, 15 times faster than it is right now. And then finally, all the voice services come from us at Blink. So we included 45 premium seats. That accounts for all the user extensions. We looked at your usage. That's the other thing we looked at with Magna 5. kind of assessing simultaneous call capacity and making sure that we can cover you for, the busiest times of year. 24 total voice lines will do that across all locations. So that pool of voice lines would actually be shared by everybody. On top of that, a big thing, and I heard you guys speaking before the meeting, Zoom has become incredibly popular, right? Just because the nature of the way everybody does business and communicates now has changed quite a bit. So one thing we were able to include is 45 Comet licenses. Comet is a software-based solution to your actual phone. And it's actually what I use every day. I took the phone off my desk quite a while ago just so I can buy a little more desk space. But what it allows you to do is make and receive calls from your desk extension, your business phone number, either from your smartphone. It's available in the Google Play Store for your Android phone. It's also available in the Apple App Store. So from there, you can make and receive calls right from your cell phone. Let's say there's another shutdown or someone just has to work from home temporarily. Either from their cell phone or from their home computer, they can log into their desk extension. Everyone can reach each other through their 3-digit extensions, and you're never giving out your personal cell phone number for making calls and things of that nature. That would be included for everybody. And then on top of that, the maintenance and managed services package, that would cover you for all on-site support, remote support. As like I said, any issues with Verizon or Optimum, you bring directly to us at Blink. Myself, I've been in telecom over 10 years, and I would be your dedicated account manager. So with that, I really pride myself on, I've been giving out my cell phone number to clients for years, but it's really a one-stop shop. You would deal with me directly. You would never make a call to any other providers, ultimately leveraging you more time and just allowing me to kind of consult for everybody moving forward. Everything else you're going to find in the service proposal is really just a breakdown of what we kind of went over. But from a bottom line standpoint, monthly we're looking at a savings of $203.69. And we're able to guarantee those rates for a total of 5 years. So it would actually equate to roughly $12,221.40 going back into the budget over the next 5 years. And there are actually no upfront costs. So as far as the actual equipment, doing the on-site installation, we also perform a site survey prior to installing the phone system and executing the scope of work. As well as like the porting of the numbers, and we do a full staff training and immersion. It's all included. You would simply pay a lower bottom line every month, and then we would manage everything moving forward. We have worked with a number of towns in the past. Normally we upgrade one site at a time, get everything up and running, and then we move on to the next one. Something like this, we might be looking at a total install of maybe a month across all installations. Likewise, any changes that have to happen on the Verizon or the Optimum end, we handle all of that for you directly. And that's pretty much it for the most part. I can open up to any questions.
Any other questions for Alex at the moment? This is brand new. We're getting just started with this. We'll have lots of stuff to talk about going forward. Lots of information to digest.
Terry has a question.
Yes, Judge.
We had that issue upstairs with the police department here, and they changed the phone system. We have to be standalone.
Okay. Sure. Do you know what kind of hardware you're using right now in the court? Okay.
That's something we can look into.
But it has to be
Standalone.
Sure.
Terry, you can't have your own standalone number and also have an extension that they can get from here?
There can't be any.
Yeah, because it's so annoying when you call here and you get that long, that if you call the court, hang up, dial this number before you can even get an extension. Maybe we can move it.
Sure.
It used to be an issue if a lawyer was on a phone, if the police department's in the same building, and even with the police department up the street, if we're in the same.
Sure.
And that comes down to us from Albany.
But Terry, could they do something like this then? For the town court, push 5, and then when you push the button, it says, please hang up and dial this number for the court directly, because could they do that?
I know we can't be mixed.
No problem.
Do something like that, because this, at least like I'm trying to call the town hall,
I have to listen to this whole drawn-out thing every time.
Correct. As opposed to having the phone system, like you're referring to, an auto attendant, just kind of forward that call through an extension, we can program the separate number for the court so that you can still have that connectivity. And then as far as the court just being separate, if it's a matter of like invoicing it separately, not a problem. But on the,
Anybody out here that can think, oh yeah, I told the court, but the police department was listening. Or actually, many years ago, it was an issue with even our filing our monthly
Okay.
reports. Somebody would come down here, and the old server used to be in that room over there, and one of the town board members would go in there and look in the server, and the
Okay.
next thing you want to know why somebody was paying one fine. They don't
I
know the
gotcha.
whole picture.
no problem.
And it's just the appearance of an impropriety.
Understand.
We'll work with you.
Sure. And
Okay.
another option to have everything totally separate is we simply would kind of just split those lines off, and we would host it on an independent server. This way there's no connectivity back and forth.
As long as we get the blessing
Sure.
From Albany.
whoever the governor may be.
Absolutely. When I had,
We'll be more than happy to work with you, and I can get you.
Sure.
Name is Kathy. That's his next one is.
Maybe you ask the municipalities that you are working with,
Sure.
how they do it, if their court system is involved, if they have it.
How they jump from us to the independent line.
correct. I just upgraded the town of Colton, which is quite a ways up, but they had everything kind of unified together, but it was separated where there was no connectivity back and forth.
We'll work with you.
Sure, absolutely. The reason I asked what kind of hardware you currently have. The chief had a similar concern when we spoke a few months ago. A lot of hardware, although I might not upgrade the actual phones themselves, I can run our services through them, meaning our actual voice lines. So you would be going from a standard, what they call a POTS line or just play-don't telephone service, to our lines. They're called crystal lines. At the end of the day, it just means HD call quality. We can give a guaranteed QoS with it, and they're much more cost-effective. So we could potentially move those, through the hardware and kind of assess that scope of work for you. So,
Put off the party, so I need to.
One quick question. I know that I was involved in some of the conversations before we even brought you in. And one of the concerns when you go to these digital lines is the echo. And if you don't buy the right equipment, are you guaranteeing us there will not be an echo
correct.
or a lag?
That comes with the guaranteed QoS. And there's really two things. We, a lot of times, can utilize older hardware for people. We can't give that guarantee if we do. So the phone I'm proposing is this one right here. So it has HD call quality. So we worked with, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Avaya phone systems. We were an Avaya business partner for a number of years. We developed Blink Cyrus, which is our cloud-based communication system. And when we did, we tested in-house pretty much everything. The other, big manufacturers in telecom, at least on the voice over IP side, are Polycom, Grandstream. And we landed on Yealink. Very robust, strong phone, and it's provisioned for HD call quality. So the echoes, static on the lines, dropped calls, not going to have a problem. For every internet connection, we also set up something called a static IP address. Normal IP addresses are internet protocols, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, is just a series of numbers that the computer system calls on. We leave it static so that it doesn't change. Therefore, our server is always looking for that same IP, and that makes it so there's never kind of interruptions or anything in service.
But when the internet, I have the same one at work. It's a great phone.
Sure.
But just so you guys know, when the internet goes down, the phones are down.
That is correct. That was also a concern the chief had as well. We have two options. One is a copper failover. Every location will continue to have a copper line in place. We can program the cloud system to actually switch over to that copper if there ever is a down in the internet. The other option is everybody has their smartphone. So you would have the accessibility to actually make and receive calls from your smartphone.
Did we have an issue with the water pumping station not having hardwired lines last year when they lost telecom communication down at the pump station?
That,
Adam had some problem going on.
yeah, I'll have to confirm with
Okay.
Adam what that
So Adam's not going to be part of this, correct? That's what you
Yes.
just said. You said which department was not going to be?
Transfer station.
Correct. The transfer station has
No phones.
one line right now, correct. And I'm sure that's used for some
Sorry.
kind of fire security measure. You would have the option of potentially moving that to a cloud phone. The transfer station can answer from their cell phone moving forward.
That's one of those 911 phones. That's a 911 phone.
Got it. Perfect.
Okay, any other questions?
Andrew?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
If the building has Cat 3 cable to the phone line, will your system work, or do you need?
It's a great question. So normally, and a big reason why a lot of businesses in general won't upgrade is because structured cabling has to get upgraded in the entire building. What we have are really two different ways to kind of execute the scope of work. The first is kind of daisy chaining through the Cat 5 that's there right now. And my technicians really determine all this upon site survey to figure out the best way to do it and kind of allocate your network traffic. But if you look at the back of the phone, there's 2 ports here. Your normal internet connection going into the computer goes into one, and then this patches back into the computer. The other option is utilizing that Cat 3 cabling. We have something called a PHY-bridge adapter, which allows us to run PoE or power over Ethernet through that Cat 3. All things that we would need to actually make the phone system up and running, patch cables, adapters, all those kinds of things are included in the proposal.
What is the cost to us for one of those phones? So if it falls off a desk and we smash it?
Roughly $400, correct. There is a 5-year manufacturer's warranty on all the equipment. Obviously, if it falls, coffee spills on the phone, it's one thing, but normal defects will be covered for the whole term.
Okay. Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move on with the meeting this evening. Let's go jump back to Andrew for
Thanks,
dog
safe
control.
trip home.
Good afternoon, everybody. Lenny, I want to offer my condolences to you and your family. Linda was a wonderful woman. I didn't know that happened.
Thank you.
All right. We received a total of 21 calls this month, including 5 calls to service from either New York State Police, Ulster County Sheriff, or Lloyd Police. Responded to 5 active complaints or cases which are now closed or resolved. We currently have 2 open cases or complaints. There were no dogs impounded this month or appearance tickets issued. There was 1 dog bite reported this month, and we're currently investigating that, possibly to present to the court. Any questions? Anybody?
Seeing none, Andrew, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jumping down to building and zoning. Dave?
Thank you. You all have my report. It was a busy month in terms of revenue and inspections. Typically is this time of year. Next month will probably be a little busier just because people are going to start rushing to get things done before the snow flies. It was a busier month, obviously, for building than it was for planning. Most of the stuff there is kind of coming to some sort of, we hope, ending one way or the other. We did collect $2,500 for rec fees. That was from Mountainside Woods. That's a regular thing. He pays us before he gets the CO. There was last meeting. I talked about the 180 South Street. Anthony worked with the owner out there, and they brought in a new security person for smokes and carbons. We believe that they are in compliance and therefore can reoccupy the building. They have more work to do, and Anthony is still working with them to make those things happen. But we believe the building is safer than it was when the last time we were out there as a group. 1 Grove Street is still closed, you know. We did send I sent a final letter. I talked to Lenny and Freddie today. We did send a letter saying we are going to mow the long grass out front. I gave them 7 days to reply from the date of receipt. So I think that's probably going to be a week from tomorrow. I think they should get that letter tomorrow. There's already a complaint. I sent my letter. They don't reply. We mow it. I'm going to have the guys mow it. I think our guys will mow it. It'll probably be cheaper and quicker. And then we'll generate an invoice. I'll generate an invoice with Frank. as to what the hours were and what the going prevailing wage is for that kind of thing. We'll invoice the owner. If they refuse to pay or don't pay in a timely manner,
Levy it.
we'll levy it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's been the policy and procedure for a long time. Are there any questions?
Dave,
Oh,
thank you very much.
Yeah, you want to talk about our friend over here? Or you want to do that?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so the fence is up. You two chased them pretty hard, threatened them a little bit maybe.
On his credit card.
Yeah, of course. I know, you didn't really threaten them. Because the police aren't here, but we are being recorded. So the fence is up. We have some adjustments he's going to make to the fence. We're going to call him later this week to make sure that he understands the rest of the debris and everything else is going to get cleaned up and off-site. I think we're going to give him a week.
A week window. He has a week window.
A week window to get a dumpster drop there and start loading it, because it's still a mess. There are some weeds Lenny mentioned to me earlier. We'll get on that as well.
Just a quick clarification, just so people are turning in. We paid, or we took it upon ourselves to put the fence up, correct? I thought we were going to do that last meeting.
Well, if he didn't put it up and build it, we were.
He did.
He did, and he paid for it, yes.
Yeah, he came in the office, signed the invoice. The supervisor, Lenny, reached out to get the invoice, but he came in and signed the invoice on his credit card.
And the reason I'm saying that, because if we shelled any taxpayers' money, we want to make sure that he
We get
gets
it back.
billed
Yep.
and it gets levied on his taxes.
Yep.
So that's fine.
Card.
Perfect.
This
Thanks.
one, this bill's on him.
Yep.
The first one.
Thank you.
Dave, thanks.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
Rich, please.
Richie's getting new equipment.
Please. Well, this month, everything's going. We're out patching, cutting brush. Paving, supposed to start the 8th. They pushed it up a couple days on the milling, but they pushed back the paving itself, so it's a catch-22 in the next two or 3 weeks to finish up our paving for the year. Besides that, we're out patching holes and doing stuff like that. On the agenda, a couple resolutions there for equipment, which is all covered by different
But wait,
line items and stuff, so.
2019 unexpected.
we'll go
Rich, just a
through.
quick question. With everything going on, are they going to be able to get to that machine pretty quickly, or are we going to have to wait?
Well, we were supposed to take that machine last year.
Well, there's two machines. You're talking about the loader.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. That one was supposed to have been taken last year, but we held off because of COVID.
Unless they have the machine and stocked it.
No, I gotta order that one now.
Yeah, because I just know that I ordered a new pickup, and they're telling me maybe January.
They're saying maybe January for this.
But the sweeper's different.
The sweepers, they're in stock. They don't, when you buy the sweeper, you buy the truck and the unit all together. So they have them in stock. And they just, because they are not on their guidelines by the state to buy, certain trucks for, so they buy the trucks outright, and they put the sweepers on it, and then we buy it, so.
And that delivery time on that is about how long? The sweeper?
Quick,
Month.
May,
Right, okay.
maybe.
Good.
So, then we gotta shift some money around to do the paving, the last couple of roads we're gonna do. And I don't wanna hear I'm doing my own road.
I told you you have to do your own road. It's terrible.
It is terrible.
And so, was Adam out in front of your house the other day? Was there a
Yeah,
problem?
they're getting their manholes up to grade and
Okay,
getting
that's
their
kind of
work.
what I figured, because
Yeah.
I saw it this morning when I went to work.
We got the machines here already to start the milling, but they're gonna start Monday or Tuesday on the milling, so. Alrighty,
Yes, thanks. Thank you very much. We're good.
Thanks, Rich.
We're going to hold the police report over till regular meeting. Jim's, of course, it's July, August. Jim's away. Same with recreation, town clerk, and water and sewer, although Adam has included his report. Same with Joan. And I have have nothing to report as far as committee reports, I mean, from our department heads. I think we should go to, we should probably jump to High Bridge, and Sean will have that as discussion. You want to bring us up to speed with that?
Well, we've had some discussions. I think Patty, and I'm assuming that's Mr. Leibel, are here. We've had some discussions regarding what we could possibly do. There was some offer for Mr. Leibel offered to give an easement through the driveway up from Vineyard Avenue up to the rail trail, but he's looking for the town to contribute toward the inspections that have to occur every 5 years, as well as any maintenance that have to occur. I don't know if all the board members are aware of that or not.
No, first time hearing it, but I'll be honest with you, Sean, Mr. Leibel, I'm so glad you're here. But I really feel that it's really a shame that it's come to this. I really feel that you came to our town, our community. You promised us all this goodness, and you gave us nothing. You promised us the sidewalk. You didn't want to come in through your property. You promised that you'd build the sidewalk. We kept asking for the sidewalk to happen, and it didn't happen. The project, and I was one of the people that didn't want to give you a CO until the sidewalk was built or the funds were aside. The project had a lot of other issues that the town worked with you. And it's kind of sad now that even this, that you're trying to now, you want to go to the easement that originally was, and now you want the taxpayers to pay. Step up to the plate. We let you build your project. We didn't let you put the balconies on because you didn't put the cantilevers. We made a lot of exceptions for you. Do the right thing by this community. Stand by your word and build the sidewalk you promised.
I would agree to help build that sidewalk over on.
You want to please come up? And just for the record, introduce yourself just for the record.
Hi, I'm Keith Leibel, and I'm one of the owners of Highbridge Place over in Vineyard Avenue. Patty Brooks is my engineer, and she's here. It was my understanding from Patty that the project on Commercial Avenue did not move forward, and no one gave me clearance to install that sidewalk. I met with the town on several occasions. I was asked to build a sidewalk in front of 2 addresses, which I agreed to do. I priced it out. It was around $5,000. I agreed to do it. I didn't hear from anybody for over a year and a half, and that was the project hasn't moved forward. So, you know, Joe, you say I didn't step up. I was willing to step up.
Well, first of all, this is the first time I've seen you at a board meeting. This is the first time I've seen you at a board meeting talking about this meeting, about the sidewalks.
I was invited.
Well, and as for the $5,000, the sidewalk was always proposed to come down Commercial. You know, I've done some cement work, hired people, and I don't know where you're going to get a sidewalk built for $5,000.
It wasn't. It was part of a larger grant.
And we were never told, you were never part of the grant. You were told you were going to build a sidewalk. Next thing we know is somehow the grant, you tried to get it on the grant, which cost the taxpayers money, because if we use that grant money to build the sidewalk you promised to build, that means the town gets less sidewalk somewhere else. And Patty, you said at a board meeting, to a planning board meeting, that he would build that sidewalk. We didn't make this up. It was never told to us that the condition was if the daycare was built, then you would build the sidewalk. It was always come to us. There was no conditions. You would be more than pleased. You were going to build the sidewalk, and I actually wanted you to build it farther. My original, when Dave was going back and forth, was you to bring it all the way down Vineyard and repair the sidewalk was there. And we agreed upon just bringing it down to the end of Commercial. So it's never been brought to us, you know, and if it's up to me, to be honest with you, and I've been saying at every board meeting, that the town board should pursue legal action against you, and let's see what happens, because this is really ridiculous.
I don't think legal action is necessary for you.
Well, something should happen, because it took excuse me, I'll finish. It took, then you can say it's ridiculous. It took less time for you to build the project than it took for us to get this sidewalk, which we still don't.
Well, okay, all right, listen. We might have a few other options, and I think they need to be discussed before we go to legal action, before we go to this, we go to that, we go to whatever, all right? So that's where we stand right now. Let's discuss other options.
Right, and let's not be hostile.
Right, I think
Okay.
we want to do that
Being
first.
hostile, but we've been going,
Try to
how
do
many
a-
years has this been? How many years
wait,
has this
please.
been?
So Lenny has the floor.
I'm asking, please. Whether, I've never met you before, in all honesty, but when you started this project, I was the one person that was on your side. I'm not looking for a pat on the back for it, but you were taking a building, I thought, and you were, bringing it back up to standards and make something that when the people walk by on a rail trail, everybody would appreciate. If I'm not mistaken, originally, before you took the project over, we were supposed to have an easement from the rail trail down what is now your driveway to Vineyard Avenue to help those people try to get into town to support our small businesses. All right? Now, that's what I've been told over and over and over again. And in case anybody here doesn't know it, Patty and I, Dave and Freddie, we went up there and we walked the driveway and we talked about it could work like this, it could work like that. My personal feeling, I'd rather have the easement coming down the driveway to get the people in town. That's my personal feeling, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's it. And, I think that's a better option than building a sidewalk for you. And again, you will not have any liability now that you thought you would have before because it's part of the New York State Rail Trail. They cover the liability off and on the rail trails. So, and that's kind of where I stand.
So could I respond?
Yes, certainly.
Oh, of course.
So originally, there was a licensing agreement between Ethan Jackman and the community, which was at his pleasure, which he suspended when I bought the property. I then agreed when we were in planning, because I was up there a lot. There wasn't a lot of people going through there. We agreed, and the planning board was satisfied that there wasn't a lot of people going through there. To put a gravel path along the one side, down the hill, there was a trail that was there. We would leave a trail, a few people a day, no big deal. When we widened the road, it changed the slope of the hill, and it made the trail unpassable. The slope of the hill changed too much. So, okay, what do we do? So we talked about different options. We met on this site. We talked about doing a small easement on part of the roadway. People were concerned about safety. Well, let me tell you what's happened. I was up there 2 Saturdays ago or 3 Saturdays ago for 3 hours visiting the residents. Counted 94 people going down the road, and 10 vehicles entered in, 4 of which parked, 2 in my visitor spaces, 2 up in the parking lot. The other 6 dropped people off and left. That is not a small number of people. I tried locking the gate up to slow it down. People were passing their bikes under the gates. They were passing their bikes over the fence, the split rail fence. People want to traverse that area down into the community, and it's a lot of people. That's not what I had planned on when, at my own leisure, because the planning board did not want to do a taking, asked me to leave that little gravel path there. So as a community, we have a situation where there's a lot of traffic, and I encourage you to please go sit up in the parking lot with a cocktail one evening and just watch it. Just sit there for an hour and watch it happen. There's a lot of people going there. There's people bringing cars in there. I don't even mind the cars parking in the visitor spots, because although the parking's tight there, there's room for it and it's okay. Generally speaking, nobody's complained. There's a few people who've complained about people coming through the property, but nobody's really complained about the cars that use the visitor spots. And I'm more than happy to give a permanent easement through the whole width of that, up into the rail trail, and even use of the visitor parking. All we're asking for is some consideration back from the community to help maintenance those areas that are along that easement in some form or another. I am stepping up and being reasonable. That's a large financial commitment that isn't a one-time, here's $5,000 worth of sidewalk. I can't speak to your concerns about the sidewalk and Commercial Avenue, because what was asked of me and what was shown to me is not in line with what you're telling me.
Said at our board meeting that you were going to build the sidewalk on Commercial Avenue extension.
I understand, but I didn't know what that meant, so we had 2 meetings out there.
Well, that's what was said at the meeting, so we were all under the assumption that you...
In fairness, Councilman, you haven't invited me here to speak.
Well, you know what, wait,
And I would
to be
like
honest,
Joe, don't, just, Joe, 1 second, so let Mike finish, and then you can talk.
I'm finished. I just want to let you know that
so to be-
was said.
So to be honest with you, you're in the trade. You know that if you're gonna build a sidewalk, you just can't build a Joe homeowner sidewalk. You gotta build it up to state code, so you know darn well that you can't build it for $5,000. We got a price for us to do it at state bid of $60,000. It was told to us that you could do it for half that much, which would be about 28 to 30 grand.
Lenny,
So
what would
next
that number
thing-
be roughly?
So next thing, give or take a couple thousand. I'm not being precise, but it's approximately. Use the word approximately. As for inviting you here,
Well, what was shown to me was only
Excuse
a
me?
couple hundred linear feet.
so
Just-
wait,
But go ahead.
but
yeah.
this is what was preached to us for allowed. There was a lot of things in the project that were supposed to have happened that didn't, and that's.
Elaborate on that?
For example, we were told that you're supposed to put balconies up. And the reason the balconies didn't go up is because the cantilevers weren't installed. And if the cantilevers weren't installed, in order for you to put the balconies up, you had to remove the roof line or remove something to do it, which I find kind of hard to believe. A person in trade, and that's not your first apartment building you built, that how was that overlooked? And I'm kind of wondering how our building department overlooked it. But that's beside the point.
I don't think
As
it's,
for-
is it mandatory?
That was part of the plan was the
It's
balconies.
not mandatory for you to have to
Okay,
build that.
but
But it was
Right.
part of the plan. That was what we.
But they're not, they don't have to do that, Joe.
But that was part of the plan
But
presented.
we're not talking about the sidewalk and easement. That's why we're here.
So the sidewalk and easement, but what the point of it is that it was told to us, it was said to us that this is where it's going. We've been going on for this for about 2 years now. It's been a while. It's been a while. 2 years. And about inviting you here, we've known. You've promised to build it. You know, you think within 2 years, you would have said, hey, guys, let me give you a point of clarification. That doesn't happen. Patty, you've come to the planning board. You said he was building the sidewalk. It was then, now we're hearing that it was the only reason he was building the sidewalk, he was going to subside, get some of it paid for when they were going to do this daycare, and the daycare never came to fruition, and that now you have to do the whole cost. That was never presented to us. So the reality is that if the town board wants to allow you not to build a sidewalk and do the right-of-way through your property like you're originally supposed to have, I'm one member, and the board can vote on it. But, you're a business, and you're charging good rents, and you have to do maintenance on your property. So, as giving back, you shouldn't even be asking us to ask our taxpayers to maintain it. Again, that's something that you should do. And as for the 90%, it was walkway on the Hudson. You built the property after walkway was opened. The thoroughfare, the traffic has always been heavy through there. Now, maybe they found it an easy way to come through your property, and there are other ways that you could stop that. You could put a gate up. You could put a swipe card system up if you don't want people coming through your property, but maybe they found an easier way to get to where they want.
Okay, if I can speak, because I was on the planning board when this went on. Peter Brooks was the chairman. The town at the time thought that we thought on the planning board that an easement existed. We were then told that it was a handshake agreement with the town that didn't get passed from Ethan to you. The conversation at the time, because we were looking at the old road and the old grade and the fact that it went right by the building, it didn't look that conducive, but we all along thought that at some point in time, we would be using, quote unquote, the right of way, up the driveway. Going forward, Patty has done some research that we just spoke about the other day, and the bridge that was built when Williams Lumber was there, to my understanding, they were supposed to have 5-year bridge inspections. It's unclear who was supposed to do that, but we do know that when the project went forward, we questioned the strength and the validity of the bridge. We had the engineers, yours and ours, go out and do most current. How old is that now? Maybe 5 years, maybe 4, 3.
We did the inspection,
Right,
yeah.
right. So 3 years. We have a current engineering inspection on the facility, so that we know it's stable. There was lots of questions from the fire department, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that the ability might be out there to have an easement when Lynn and I, when we were over there and looked at it, that brings the planning board back to where we were in the very beginning. So I think maybe today, or moving forward, we try to figure out how we proceed with this, and along with Joe, how do we proceed with this without putting a burden on the taxpayers? And again, this is the first time we're all sitting around a room together in one room. The lawsuit is probably the last thing we ever want to talk about because it's very expensive and the lawyers win. It's my opinion. So, how do we move forward from here?
Yeah, I just want to touch on a couple of things with regard to what Mr. Leibold has given to the community so far, because to say that he has come in here and just taken and given nothing in return is not necessarily giving a clear picture to the general public of really what has occurred at the site. So, as part of the process of the planning board, Mr. Leibold paid $15,086 in escrow fees. He paid $10,675 for a building permit. He paid $1,700 for a parking space fee, and $47,500 for recreation fees.
But Patty,
Now, excuse
but
me,
Patty, hold on,
I
but
didn't
Patty,
interrupt you,
but
Mr.
that's
Mazzetti.
not, but
Joe,
Patty.
let her
Joe,
finish.
excuse me, Joe.
You don't like to be interrupted.
Joe,
Me,
Joe,
Claire, you're not
Jo-
my mother.
Joe,
and I'm
this
gonna
is
say
my
this.
meeting, Joe. You
I'm gonna
gotta
say
let,
one thing.
Joe, you're out of order.
Joe, you are out of
You're out of order.
Let her finish.
She needs to finish and then,
Who's running the meeting?
I'm the running the meeting, okay?
I know, you'll do whatever
Please,
he tells you, but
stop.
let her be
No,
polite.
stop it. Please stop.
All I want to do is say, Claire, Patty. so
Joe,
you made a
let Patty finish.
Hard
I want
for
to
you,
ask
Joe.
a question.
Well, you can ask when she's done speaking,
Right.
please.
Fine. So we'll
You
go
wanna
back
talk
to your
about
fees.
residents?
Stop.
We
Stop.
can talk about a house that can't sell because of your eyesore.
Stop.
Okay?
Please, Patty, continue.
Or who'd you sell your apartments to? That's
Well, please, Joe, Patty, will you please continue? This is really out of order. You gotta stop. Go ahead, Patty.
So basically, with regard to the recreation fees, if it were known at the point in time that we would be back here discussing an easement through that property, the recreation fees are paid when an applicant does not have an opportunity to provide a recreational provision to the community. That $47,500 basically was paid in lieu of him creating any kind of a recreation facility. Read the code, Joe, that's what it says. And he is now proposing to provide an opportunity for the residents and non-residents of this community to be able to access the rail trail through the easement that's proposing. That's worth something. That's a burden on the property that will be on the deed forever. So that also has a value. In addition to that, the original fees that were taxes that were being paid on this property prior to Mr. Leibold developing it were $4,200 a year, school and town taxes combined. Mr. Leibold this year has paid $70,016.30. So to say that he has not brought a benefit to this community is ludicrous. It's really unfortunate that we still have the eyesore next door to it, because if the town board hadn't rescinded the adaptive reuse regulations, we probably have a similar facility next door generating the same type of taxes.
Are you finished, Patty? 'Cause I don't want to interrupt.
I am, thank you.
So first of all, everything you quoted about the fees are anything anybody would have had to do to build the project. All the fees that he paid, as for the rec fees, that he could have built the facility if the town board planned, pool, tennis courts, whatever, and avoid those rec fees. But I don't understand how you're insinuating that a gravel walkway constitutes not the 2,500. And you've been involved in the town for a long time. So you know that that $2,500 rec fee exists, and any developer coming in and developers that you represent know that exists. So I think it's kind of disingenuous that you're saying that this developer didn't know, or you didn't do your diligence to inform him that to know. I think that's kind of a ludicrous statement. I think that, excuse me, Patty, because I was told I interrupted you.
But you're saying
So
I
I
didn't know
don't,
about the 2,500, and that's
but
what
you're
I said.
insinuating that he wouldn't have paid the $47,000.
Patty, you're not going to win. He's
so-
just going to go on and on and on.
So at any rate, the reality is
That's what
this.
he does. He likes a grandstand.
I'm not grandstanding, Claire. I'm just
So
sticking
I
up
would
for
like
our...
to make a comment about your comment about who I sold my property to. First of all, it's not sold.
Okay.
That's number one.
This is...
And
Okay, now,
number
that-
two,
Okay,
and number two, it makes
Turn.
all,
This
out-
is my
sense now,
turn.
Joe. The
Stop.
rumors that are.
We're-
It's my turn.
we're out of order.
Thank you.
We're out
Thank
of
you
order.
both.
Lenny,
Options on it.
Lenny, speak, please
I
speak.
would just like to bring up one more point about the easement.
Sure.
Okay? As of right now, there is no easement.
Correct.
The liability on 96 people, 6 cars, and 2 parking is your responsibility.
Correct.
We have an easement, all of a sudden, that liability goes away. All right? So I think that's some consideration also. I mean, I'm just, again, I'm trying to do what's best for the community, what's best for you, and I do feel that that access to the village is much more valuable than a sidewalk over on Commercial Avenue Extension. My personal feeling, I said that when we started,
I'm in agreement with that.
all right?
So I've tried to be a good community member and not physically put a fence up, which the building
well,
department says
okay.
is within my right
Can-
to do.
You sure? Don't you
Absolutely.
have to have an opening in the back so fire truck can get through?
Well, yes, I have a swing gate, but it can be locked. But I've not done that
Like
because I
elsewhere.
wanted to have this conversation.
That's why we're here.
We're having it.
Right.
That's why
Okay.
we're here.
So the only thing I said to the building inspector, I said, listen, I'll gladly put this right-of-way in, which is a taking. It's a public taking of my property. Just ask them to return the rec fees. And this is what I told them. I will put that in a sinking fund and use it as maintenance for the bridge and the easement way, and that'll be it. And he said, that's not going to happen. I said, okay. Then go back to the board and ask them if they'll help to contribute to the care and maintenance of the right-of-way. I said, maybe they get a grant at some point, for Parks and Recs or something, and they can help out. Let's just formalize something and work together with it. So I talked to Patty about that. She said she'd run it up the flagpole. She says, they're not really too keen on that.
Right.
But they do the inspections. I said, well, that's really nice of them. I'm in the business. I have engineers that'll go out and do the inspections for me. I'd really want to I'll partner with them. We can share in the inspection fees and share in the repairs.
Okay.
That was the only thing I've said, and that's what I'm bringing here now. I think even if you put the sidewalks in eventually up Commercial Avenue down into the community here, they're still going to want to cut through.
You're absolutely correct.
Absolutely.
And if Antique, Ethan Jackman still owns Antique Village, I'm sure you could approach him about a license agreement to have access through there.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll grant it to
Fat-
you,
fat
maybe he
chance.
won't. But I'm just saying that's where the traffic wants to be, and I think
Well,
it's,
excuse me.
I don't know how many people are going through there full-time. I'm just telling you, the time I've been there, I couldn't believe how many
No,
people were.
no, that's cool. The day we were up there were 4 people that walked through, okay? So, we know you're not, you're telling the truth. But that bridge, I believe, belongs to you. Am I correct?
It does right now, does it? It's in,
Yes, it was
Yes.
built and designed by the town of Lloyd, and it was in compensation
With Williams.
for the water and sewer easement.
That's
So
on,
at
that runs,
point in
that's
time,
correct.
In
Okay.
1993,
I do believe, I would ask Sean, because it's your bridge, we really can't spend any money on it. Am I correct, as a town?
Well, if you had a quid pro quo, I think you'd probably work out some arrangement where you're basically, it's in compensation for the easement coming back. But you'd have to do some kind of quid pro quo. And the other way you could probably work it is that there is water and sewer improvements
Can I ask you a question,
going
though?
through it. So, you could, you have to maintain the integrity of the bridge. Well, you don't have to maintain it, but the integrity of the bridge has to be maintained to maintain the integrity of the water and sewer
Or
easements going over.
when the integrity of the bridge fails, the town has to close it.
Well, you have to close it, but you have water and sewer easement going through that, so you have water and sewer improvements going over. So that bridge
Under it.
collapses, your water and sewer lines collapse. So right now, the town does have an interest in that bridge being maintained because of the water and sewer lines. But right now, the town has no responsibility to do it. So right now,
But our water and sewer lines are underneath it.
yeah, they're running underneath it, correct?
yes, they are. That's why the town rebuilt the bridge. That was, at that point in time, compensation for allowing the water and sewer lines to go there.
Patty, what year was that rebuilt at?
1993.
And then you reinforced it, correct? When did you reinforce it?
3 years ago in the
Yep, I
engineering
remember that.
report. Yeah.
That was part of the, that was part of the concrete abutment structure of the underbrush.
10-yard barrel trucks were going across there pretty regular.
It's in good shape. I mean, it's not like I think there's some pending huge expense. I'm not saying that. I'm just looking for a partnership with the community. And if you see it or not, that's fine. I'm just telling you my perspective is, yes, I have built a number of developments. I've never had a community ask for a taking like this and then had me pay rec fees and then come back and say, oh, now I want you to go build that. So you say I haven't shown up, but I've paid everything that's been asked.
So what are you saying? So what is this cost that you're expecting us to pay? How much, what is the monetary amount that this is going to cost us a year?
I think once every 5 years, we have to have the bridge inspected.
How much is that?
I think
What
our
would that,
report was
what would that be for?
$2,500.
And the bridge is how many feet wide?
20?
And you're expecting us to, and the path would be how many feet wide?
20?
The path would be 20 feet wide.
Give a right-of-way or an
The whole,
easement.
so you want to give us the whole, because we only need, what, 4 feet?
Well, you can't dictate exactly where people are staying on it,
But-
so from
but-
a protectionary standpoint, it makes sense.
So you want us to pay 50% of the cost, 25% of the cost, 10% of the cost?
Let's have a discussion.
I don't think we should pay any of the cost. I think that,
I think you should pay all the costs.
so that's why
so
we have a right
let's-
to agree to disagree.
So what would the total cost be? Let's get to real numbers. Does
Well,
anybody
you have
know?
2 issues. One is the
Right.
inspections, which are
Right.
once every 5 years, and right now they're about $2,500.
And
I mean, if
that
you have a
doesn't-
town
So-
engineer who could stop out and do the inspection, that gets rid of that.
Okay, well, there you go. There's one.
There's one. And then the
Well, we
repairs.
don't have a town engineer.
then next-
We pay an engineer through the town to do inspections. We don't have a
That's,
town engineer.
that's correct. We would pay for that engineering,
Okay.
that's correct.
What's the other cost?
Whoever did it.
Would be on a 5-year,
some
would be,
kind of contribution.
correct.
Has to
for
be
that.
done every 5 years.
Then he's looking for contribution toward any maintenance that's going to have to occur in the future. I mean, right now, it's my understanding that the bridge is in good shape. You know, it's a guess on when it's going to need maintenance and what maintenance it's going to need. By having the 5-year inspections, you're getting a head start. You see things before there's a problem. So, you know, you can do preventative maintenance and so forth. But I have no idea what that's, you know, over the next 30, 40, 50 years, what it's going to cost to maintain. Bottom line is, right now, the town doesn't have an easement. They don't have any obligation to pay any inspection fees, and they don't have any obligation to pay any maintenance fees or for the repair of the bridge.
And
Just-
I'll be honest
just
with you, I think this is really the most bizarre conversation I've ever had.
I don't.
Because,
I mean,
because, let me finish. Because right now, we have no liability to take care of the bridge or to pay any inspections. That's the reality. We're opening ourselves up, we're opening our taxpayers up to pay for something that if the bridge does fail, these inspections have to happen, the reality is,
We haven't
if that
agreed
bridge,
to that, Joe.
if that bridge goes, you have the bigger problem because you have 13 units there, 18 units there at X amount per rent. And I'm not asking you what your rent, that's none of my business. But for you, it's a cost of doing business to make sure that that bridge is up, running, and your tenants can get through. To ask the taxpayers, because we want a walking path across it, which theoretically they can do right now for nothing, because you're telling us right now that people are walking.
But they're trespassing.
Trespassing.
But that's beside the point.
Okay.
But
Oh, that is the point.
The reality
That is the real point.
The reality is that then put a gate up and enforce it.
Great that is.
But the reality is that I didn't agree to build a sidewalk. You agreed to build a sidewalk. Regardless if in your mind it was $5,000, regardless of our mind it was $60,000, there was an agreement that you would build a sidewalk. And that's how we got to this situation. It's not like it's after the fact that you built this project and we're coming back to you and saying, hey, by the way, could you do this? And it's the same thing with the rec fees. You knew what the rec fees were. If you felt that, you knew there was a right-of-way that we wanted. If you felt that it was in lieu of rec fees to give this right-of-way, I'm sure you would have said to us, hey, you know what, I'm going to give you the right-of-way, and I'm not going to pay my rec fees. And that would have been a discussion at the time of the project that we could have said yay or nay. But the reality is, we're here now on a promise that you were going to build a sidewalk. And the reality is, and it's a simple question, are you building it or are you not? So to me, it sounds like you're not.
Well, I think we're here for a discussion to see what our alternatives are besides the sidewalk.
Alternatives, if we.
Yes, there is.
Sidewalk is nothing compared to what we need to have the people be able to walk downtown. So the sidewalk is, to me, a moot point. The point is
Excuse me
that
then.
this is his property, okay? No, can I finish now?
Please
This is
speak
his
one
property.
at a time.
So now, if he has his property and the people are trespassing, and you can ask Ruth how much she loves that, because she doesn't, and I don't blame her. It is up, if he's going to give, if the deal becomes a right-of-way, to me, that's a better deal. And I'm sure that I understand, you know, legally for him, he's got, if something goes awry, he's got to pay for it. So the customary thing to do is to pay a fee for that. Now, we either just pay a flat fee every year and be done with it, and then he has the expense of anything that goes wrong. That's normally, to me, what happens. Am I wrong here, Patty? Does that happen?
No, we
With the
just
church?
went.
What happens with the church?
We had a 20-year lease with the church. It just ended. We paid them about $100,000 over 20 years, and it's now ended.
Not that we want to give you that much.
But you know, Claire, what ultimately makes me laugh is you were part of the board when we voted to allow him not to give the easement and to go with the sidewalk. Now you're backpedaling, saying, well, wait a
Because
minute.
the sidewalks don't make sense.
Well, then why did you vote yes for
to
it
you?
when we originally brought this house?
Originally, they did make sense, but they don't make sense anymore, Joe. People are not going to be on the sidewalks. They're going on the path.
Len? My turn again. I'll be honest with you, right here, right now, at this moment, all right? I might be swayed into helping with the engineering every 5 years. But as far as the maintenance of the bridge, I'm a no vote on the maintenance of the bridge. I don't want you to walk out of here without knowing exactly how I feel. We have pedestrians
Thank
walking
you.
across that bridge. They're not, they're not going to wear the bridge out. You know what I'm saying? If we have an easement up through there. Now, that's where I would land.
But you do have public traffic going on my property, and you do have people plugging into my electric car chargers who are not part of my apartment building, who plug in, park there, and use
There's
the...
tow companies that will come up there and boot them and tow them.
If that's the angle you want to go, okay. Like, I live in Gardner. We have the rail trail that runs through Gardner. We have these discussions all the time about the value of tourism and people using property. As someone who serves there, I look at that and go, that is a main throughway from that walkway into this village, and those people are coming down here spending money. The car that plugs in, because I have cameras up there, who plugs in that charger, they're not local cars. They're from New Jersey. I got a plate from Maryland one morning because I get an alarm when somebody plugs in, and I want to see who it is. But they're coming here to recreate. They're coming here to spend money. And that's why I'm not saying you got to spend, okay, so you don't want to pay for half. Hey, we'll pay for the engineering and 25% of the maintenance. Just as a property owner, please show me some consideration for saying, we want this right away through your property, and this is what it's going to be. As far as the sidewalk goes, the first thing I said when I agreed to it was somebody quantify what I'm building. And what I was shown originally was a piece of sidewalk in front of 2 properties. That was it. And there was a discussion about which side of the road they were putting it on. And I left the meeting going, when you get it worked out, give me a call. That was the end of it. Nobody's called me. She's never called me. I called her back a year later and said, do they just want me to make a donation? Okay, so saying I haven't ponied up that's just not true. And you didn't care enough to call me. You could have just called me. I live 20 minutes from here.
Well, we were told that you were going to build the sidewalks. I mean, that's what was said.
We got there, and
on Commercial
somebody
Avenue.
came with us, and there
So
was
we
a
were
whole
under that
grant
understanding.
submittal, and the sidewalks were going to a certain area, and they wanted me to do this extension that ran up the hill.
And as for calling you, our building department should have been in touch with you. We've been going back and forth with Dave. We know that you kept in touch with Dave. We know you deal with Dave. Dave should have been bringing you up to speed in this whole project.
He didn't bring me up to speed. He did call me and asked me for an update, and I said, I haven't heard anything from the people I met with.
Dave originally said, and this is what really got me, is this $5,000 number that originally you were going to give us $5,000, you're going to build a project yourself for $2,500. I don't think you could even get the concrete for $2,500, but that's what was told us. And I think that there has been miscommunication. The reality is that we're at a whole different juncture. If this project was at the beginning, that'd be one thing, but we're not there anymore.
I understand
as the people plugging into your cars, and a person owns village properties, I get it. And I understand your frustration with people parking your tenant spots and using your car chargers, I get it. And you have the right to do what you have to do.
I think what I'd
Reality
like to
is-
do, Joe, and I think what I'd like to do tonight, since this is the first time we've had the opportunity to speak with Keith and Patty, that and it's not that we have no time, but since the door is now open and we have an ongoing dialogue with the developer, that at least for tonight, we table this meeting for tonight and put it on the agenda in 2 weeks, and in the meantime, we can have some internal and some external conversations, both with ourselves and with our attorney and with our engineers.
So I'm going to say this, I don't want to give any false pretenses, and I have nothing against you. I think that your project is beautiful. I have no issue with the project. I think you did very quality work. I think it looks great. It's not that. To me, it's a man of his word. And I'm an old type guy. Handshake to me is what it is. As far as I'm concerned, you may have not under pretense, but we were sold as a board that that's what you were going to do. The reality is that I'm not in favor, and Lenny, you said you could be persuaded, I'm not in favor for any inspection fees or any money to maintain or subsidize or anything to get this easement through your property. As for building the sidewalk or having a sidewalk through your property, which would benefit your tenants and also benefit our community, I could go either way on that as long as it doesn't cost us money. However, if we don't do the easement, what are you willing, you said you're willing to do a sidewalk.
Joe, I think I
What are
just
you
asked for
willing
to move this forward. I'd like to have an internal discussion about this.
We've been discussing
I'd ask for, for a while, I'd like a motion to table.
I already made the
2
motion.
weeks.
I'll second
A motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Joe, 4 ayes. Joe's a no. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Patty.
All right.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, now back to any old business to come before the board this evening. Seeing none, new business, we had our presentation by Blink. Is there any other new business to come
Quick
before
question
this
about
meeting?
Blink. Are
Yes.
we going to get presentations from any other vendors?
We intend to, yes.
Yeah, 'cause my concern
We're
is
going to
I
reach
thought-
out.
And I just want to comment, I thought the presentation was great. I think the phone that he's going to present to us was terrific. I'm glad that about the echo. I'd like to hear what he has to say about other municipalities with the courts, because I'm interested in that. However, I am very concerned with them having a 2-day turnaround time.
Yep.
I agree.
This is a process. We're just getting our
around
get
a lot.
started. But the answer is yes, we're reaching out. Is there any privilege of the floor? Seeing none, Vera, would you run us through the motions, please?
Motion to approve the July 7th Town Board Workshop and the July 21st regular Town Board.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion from Claire, second.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Approved. B.
Resolution to move funds from recreation reserves to the capital expenditure line. Sorry.
That's okay.
To the capital expenditure line, I don't have to read the line, for 2021 in the amount of $9,895 for the fencing contracts and the field turf at $135,826.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Oh, discussion? Go ahead, Joe.
I know what the fencing's for, but explain to me turf. Where do we have turf? I don't know anything about turf.
There was some excavation and the work that got done around the court after the court was in.
It's artificial turf, or is it?
No, it's seeded.
So it's not turf.
Yeah, it's not turf like we think artificial turf. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. C.
Resolution to approve the following budget amendments for the 2021 CHIPS projects. Do you want me to read them?
No, that's okay. We have them. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
D.
Okay. Resolution to purchase a 2021 Timco Model 600 regenerative air sweeper at a cost of $285,875. Financing will be through Timco Municipal Lease Purchase Program with an APR of 2.8%, annual payment of $74,455.86. The first payment due upon delivery will be made through our 2019 unexpended funds. This purchase is budget-supported and at the recommendation of Highway Superintendent Richard Klotz, effective immediately.
And I'll speak to that. The $74,000 we have reached the last year of our payment with M&T Bank, which is about within a couple of $1,000s of this. So going forward with the highway budget, the $74,000 has been budgeted in the past, and it'll continue now for the next 4 years, so it will not have an adverse effect on his current budget.
Motion.
Is there a motion? Motion second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So carried. E,
Resolution to purchase a 2021 Hyundai HL940 loader at a cost of $133,845. Payment to be made in full, utilizing our 2019 unexpended funds, which is budget-supported and at the recommendation of Highway Superintendent Richard Klotz,
and I'll speak to that.
effective immediately.
I'm sorry. I'll
Yes.
speak to that briefly. As we know, we have a water department, we have a sewer department. They have their own districts. The highway department functions pretty similarly. Richard's always been very frugal in his budgets. The money is there to be able to make this purchase. Does not have an adverse effect on either the highway fund itself and or the town. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. So carried. Is there any other business to come before the board tonight? Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Could I say one thing?
You most certainly can.
I think I can get through this. I would like to thank the members of the board for the love and support that I was shown from everybody from the town hall and all of those who attended the wake and the funeral. I cannot thank the police department enough for what they did. We took a little ride around and went to the cemetery. Again, I want to thank everybody that participated. My heart will go out to each and every one of you. I was so moved by so many people that were crying as much as I was. And so I want to thank everybody for that. Thank you all
You're very
much.
welcome. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carried. We're adjourned.